Hi everyone, Florence Theriault here. I've got some wonderful dolls to share with you that are going to be from a weekend we have coming up of doll events. One day, on a Saturday, we're going to have antique dolls that are going to be across the board, from early English wooden right on to Madame Alexander Posey from her Posey Pet series in the 1950s. So great items, a lot of springtime items. You're going to have a great time. And then on Sunday, following up with the Lenchi art collection of Elaine Romberg, which is a very, very important collection. Now, the Saturday auction I have entitled Saying Goodbye, Coming Home, which sounds like a little kind of a weird sort of thing, like you turned around and came back, but no, it's not that. It's leaving one home and coming to another. I heard my son Luke Theriault say to someone several months ago, I wrote this quote down. In fact, I called him back that day and said, "What exactly did you say? I like that so much." And he said, "Well, I said dolls are not passing through our lives, but we are passing through theirs." And I thought, boy, that really sums up the privileges and the responsibilities of being a collector. Dolls are going to come to our homes, then they're going to leave our homes, and then they're going to say hello to the new home they're going to. So here I am presenting you today with a wonderful collection of 340 dolls, of which you're only going to see a little fraction today, of dolls that will be featured in Saying Goodbye, Coming Home, and perhaps Coming Home to You. We're going to begin with a really extraordinary English wooden doll that I hope you can see very clearly here. Now, the doll is from the early period, and she has wonderful features like her shoes that are matching her gown. She has this gown of a gorgeous, woven silk, a lampas and woven silk with the added embroidery on the top of it. Underneath the gown, look at this crewel embroidery petticoat. That is absolutely extraordinary. And in the catalog, we have a full color photograph of it. This little paper tag is pinned to her. I have no idea what it means. It says Miss Violet. Could have been a name that someone gave to her over the years. I haven't conjectured on it because I didn't want to hazard a guess. And let me turn her for you so you can see her in the back. See how her gown laces up the back. One of the things that I particularly liked about her was that she has a really beautiful profile. And I'm going to turn her again so you can see her from the side profile of her face. If you're looking to have just one wooden doll in your collection, one masterful wooden doll, and make her a focal point of your whole collection, this would be a beautiful, beautiful example. What I love is her very full throat, and then she has that tiny, dainty little chin, which is really nice. A pronounced nose, aristocratic, aquiline nose, and the very, very beautiful set-in eyes. Very lovely doll. And beautiful necklace with tiny, tiny beads and prismatic medallion on the front of it. She has her crown hat, and look over on this side, she has her reticule, which is very, very fine reticule. So a wonderful early wooden doll. It could be the highlight of your collection. Now, what do we know about the doll? Nothing we can say absolutely. We know that it was acquired originally from a collector several decades ago from the area of Essex, England. And in that area, the major mansion estate, the primary aristocratic family of that area was the Childs family. And that was the very, very important Wamstead house that they built. And you can see, I will show you, an early engraving of the Wamstead house. Now, we have no written documentation that this doll came from this house, but here are the clues. She came from that area originally before she went to the collector's home. And then she's so splendid. This was not kind of a simple little doll that a child would play with. This was a very, very important doll, even at the time, from her size, from the quality of her carving, and from her original costume that she's wearing. We also do have in the auction, which is interesting, it came from the same collection in England, a few items of tapestries that were the property of the people in the Wamstead house, including this wonderful bonnet. I think I want to take it off because I can hold it better for you to see. And you see how the quality of the fabric and the embroidery and the textiles is very, very similar to what you're finding on the gown. and then a pair of stays that are just incredible. You can see the workmanship on these stays on the inside of them. And then this is the crowning touch. This wonderful little frail piece of paper, which is the invoice of the fabrics and the trims that were bought for the lady child, for gowns and babies and stays and decorations of costumes that were being made for her, a two-sided one. And this is for the lady child's. So an important piece. Again, I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm saying this doll is definitely from that house, but there is certainly enough indication that, wow, what a great opportunity. Go to London and research it more. Maybe you'll find out the answer. You'll find out something, and that would be a great deal of fun. Now, because we have this wooden doll, we have other wooden dolls which are going to be in the auction, and I'm going to move over here to show you. And these are English. This is the English period of their really important wooden dolls was the late 1600s on through the 1700s. And as you get into the end of the 1700s into the early 1800s, you start to have more of a variety of type of things. This is a very interesting one because of her size, which is quite petite, but she has a very, very different kind of face, which is nice. And check out her hands. I just love this. Let me show you. The other one doesn't have a tag on it. Look at those gloves that are right on, fingerless gloves that are built onto her hand that have been there since the time she was born. And very, very beautiful. There's the inside of it. You can see it's a really nice feature of this early wooden doll. And let me show you also her little shoe, which is the original shoe. This is a very, very, very nice early wooden doll. And then you get into, at the end of the 1700s, you get into what I call more of a production type of wooden doll. And here we have, and I kind of call them two sisters because that's sort of what they look like. They have the same face, they have the same kind of painting. And they were, very, very almost stylized in how they were made. They definitely were not a commission piece like our wonderful tall lady over here to their side. These were made and were sold, and people that may not have been aristocratic families, but kind of more regular people, the bourgeois of the time, would have bought these and would have had them. So these are great examples, however, with their original finishes and nice early costumes. Really good examples. Let me show you her bonnet. I love her bonnet. It's really great. Okay, now I'm going to move them back because I want to show you a few other wooden dolls that we can show you that are going to be in this auction. And we have moved into, we'll hold these for last, we've moved into the Grodner Tal era, and I love the wooden Grodner Tal dolls, made in the Grodner Tal era of Germany, and there was so much work going on there, not just in dolls, but in toys and playthings and doll furniture. In this mountainous area, and everything had to be done by horse and cart. I mean, I don't know how any of this product was done, but it was a tremendous amount. And here is this really nice, tall, slender lady with her tuck comb at the top, which is a very, very stylized type of thing that they would have, a little carved comb, and would sometimes be painted yellow. And check out what she has. She has her original earrings as well, which is very, very nice. This is a very good example with her nice original painted finish. Now, we have a smaller one as well, again, with the tuck comb. And look at the painting around her face with the shading, with the swirls, and then the little spit curls coming down in front of her ears. Very, very beautifully done on this. And she's wearing her original costume, which also includes a very nice piece of jewelry. And then we have another example right here, which to me is a really odd one. I don't quite understand why she's as tall as she is, because she obviously has exaggerated extension of her limbs, which are original. So there was a time, about 1910, that when Germans were making dolls and they knew they could charge by the inch, the bigger the doll, the more they could charge, that they were making these dolls with really elongated legs so they could say it was a massive doll when really it was not. It should have been about this tall, and they would make it this tall. And I couldn't help but wonder if this wasn't sort of the same thing, but I don't know. And here she is. I'll show her all around. She's a really pretty doll. Beautiful original costume, even though it's a bit frail. You still do want to have that. And then we have several of these in the auction, and I brought out one to show you of the tiny little ones, which are just great for your little miniature settings or your doll houses. And she has her all original costume, which is very, very nice to have. And then we turn it around, and you can see the back as well. I'm going to hold her cupped in my hand for just a minute because I think that then you can kind of get a sense of what her size is as well. Okay, and then finally I wanted to show you from wooden dolls, and there are probably 15 or 20 nice early wooden dolls in this collection, so this is just a sample. We sold these from the Margaret Hartshorn collection in 2010. And in a collection that we called Milady, because she had a lot of lady dolls. And she had these two wooden dolls. She had originally purchased them from the Estelle Winthrop collection, a very, very famous early New England collection. And when she purchased them from Estelle, she had an article that had been written about them that appeared in Antique Doll World, and I think it's an important article for you to have to keep with the dolls because it told their background. They were supposedly handmade by a fisherman, a Maine fisherman, and the family story went with them. Inside of them, the rough carving inside is quite interesting to see. And then notice her hair again, how it's, on the girl in particular, it has the two little ringlet curls at the side, the coiled braid at the back, and notice that the curls are standing out from her head. They're not nestled down close to the neck as you would find in the German paper maches, for example. And she has a nice little cleavage there in the front as well. So some nice early wooden dolls. Now I want to pop over to this side because while this was going on, the Germans were also developing their paper mache business. And this is really interesting. And when I do the catalog and I have paper mache dolls, I'm so frustrated because it seems to me that every single doll could end up having 3 or 4 photographs in order to really show every part of it. What I like about these dolls is that they have, even though they have some craquelure and some age lines on their shoulder plate, well, which of us doesn't? Come on. And they're much older than we are. So I like that they have their original finish, they show their life, and that's really important. So I have some really nice examples to show you. I brought this one up because I liked her original costume, which is what you're able to see here. And you see how perfectly tightly fitted it is to her with her little matching bonnet. A very, very beautiful example of an early paper mache. In the front, I have, this is a fun piece, the old lady who lived in a shoe. And she is nestled in an early shoe, as a matter of fact, like a shoe from about 1830. And she is sitting there with her bounty of children. Just like the poem goes, she had so many children she didn't know what to do. The old woman who lived in a shoe. And most of them are paper mache. There's even a tiny, tiny little peg wooden one sitting right in the middle of the bunch. So that's a great piece, all right? And then I have this wonderful paper mache doll, and I wanted to show you this because, again, she has her all-original costume, which is so desirable to find. And I'm going to turn her around so you can see the hair from the side, and then you can see it from the back. And when you have these up close and you really look at them, you can see that these arrangements are not casual. It's not just kind of blobbed up there. There are braids and there are spirals and there are all sorts of designs going on within the hairstyle, even on these smaller dolls. And of course, with the classic slender kid body and the wooden lower limbs. And then I want to move her out of the way because I want to show you. Oh, this is a great one, by the way. This is a nice early piece. It was actually has a paper label on it, which designates that it was made by Friedrich Müller in Germany. And even though her finish is a little different than the others, it's very, very almost washed out. But look at when I turn her to the profile. Look at the profile of her face. Isn't that, it's really beautiful. She has a kind of an enigmatic smile. She has a molded bosom. Look at her curls right here. But now the back of her hair is just extraordinary. Look at that. Looped around and around and around and then nestled it, tucked in right there. So I can count 1, 2, it's hard to count them because there are thin braids and then thick braids and then a tiny, very thin braid. So really a nice thing. And it's brown. Her hair is brown, ladies and gentlemen, not black, very, very dark midnight brown. And by the way, she won a blue ribbon from UFDC annual exhibition in Chicago, 1966. How many years ago is that? 30, 50, 54, 56 years ago, she won a blue ribbon, and she's still kicking. Look at her. How about that? She's great. Then I want to show you these two because I want you to be able to compare them. Because when you see paper dolls, this is what I mean with paper mache dolls, you just want to show them from about 5 different sides. So here you're seeing their front, and at first it seems, okay, well, they seem nice, but you know, she has a much more dramatic hairstyle than her sister. Her sister is just kind of plain. But now let's turn them around. First, we can turn them to the side. You can see the hairstyles from the side, comparing them. And then come to the back. And the back. And this girl suddenly has all the pizzazz. She has the much fancier hairstyle at this time than her sister, who the hairstyle is very smooth in the back, and she's put everything up on top of her head, and this sister has moved everything to the back of her head in this very coiled chignon. So very, very great variation, and again, I hope the camera is able to pick up so much of the detail in the hair. How it's not smooth. There are definite comb marks that are showing. You can see beading, you can see braids. It's very, very intricate and fine. Now I wanted to show you something else, and this is a little off the topic, but I have to move this for a moment to do it. Okay, now this is off topic because I'm showing you 2 Chinese Store of Hope dolls, but because we're always showing you on the paper maches how you can look at them from the front, the side, and the back, I wanted to show you these 2 Chinese Store of Hope women, which when you first look at them, their faces seem very similar. And this kind of, their faces don't seem to vary a lot. Sometimes you'll have a little smile or you'll have age lines. And in this one, you do have some variation at the top crown of the head. But then look what happens when I turn them around. We have completely different dolls. We have one with a red comb and one with a gold barrette, and different styles as well. So these are really quite interesting to see. It's a nice collection of Door of Hope dolls in the Saturday auction. All right, and then we're going to move on to some others.